Hello, James Patterson here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Affinity Photo to transform day into night. This is my starting image here of the stag against this nice plain bright blue sky, and I'm going to show you how to transform the image into a moody nighttime scene instead. To do this, we're going to use a combination of tonal tools to change the colors and the tones, and we're also going to use an image here of stars, and we're going to blend this in using a few different layer skills to come up with our finished image. So let's get cracking. We'll go to our starting image here. So working in the photo persona here in Affinity Photo, I'm going to start by going to the layers panel here. I'm going to click the adjustment layer icon here, and I'm going to choose to add a gradient map adjustment layer. Now, this gives us quite a crazy mix of colors here, but in fact this initial preset gradient here gives us a good idea of what a gradient map actually does. You can see we get this gradient here that goes from red to green to blue, and these colors are being mapped onto the tonal range of our image, from the shadows here to the left side of the gradient along to the highlights to the right side of the gradient. So effectively here, what's happening is these red colors are being mapped onto the darkest tones within the image. The greens are being mapped onto the midtones, and the blues are being mapped onto the lightest parts of the image. Now we can edit this gradient using any colors that we like. So I can click this point here on the left side of the gradient and then go into the color box here and choose a different color. Now we can just drag within the color box here to choose a nice dark tone here like this. I've got a color here that I've worked out already, so I'm going to input some figures into the HSL boxes here. So I'm going to go for 213, 100 and 7, and you can see that maps sort of a dark blue tone onto the shadows in my image. Then I'm going to go to this green point in the midtones here and again choose a color. This time I'm going to go for 202 for the H value, and we'll go for 57 for the saturation value and 8 for the luminance value. And immediately you can see the change in our image. We've mapped those dark blue tones onto the midtones of my image, darkening things down for a moody look. Next I'm going to add a slightly purpley tone for the highlight point here. So this time I'm going to go for hue 292, saturation 23, luminance 57. And you can see that gives us pinkish purple highlights. Now we can double click to add further colors along the line here if we like as well. So I can double click here near the highlights here, and we can drag the position here to the left or right to fine tune it. And again, we can add a color into this point if we like as well. So I'll go for 212, 10 and 31. And perhaps one more point here near the shadows. This time I'll go for 237, 100 and 4. So you can experiment with these different colors to come up with a gradient map that suits your image. This is giving me a nice dark moody nighttime feel here. So now I'm happy with the tones. I'm going to add in my star image here. So I'll copy it here with Command or Control and C. That's Command C on a Mac, Control C on Windows, and then go back to my main image and Command or Control and V to paste it in. Then I'm just going to go to the layers panel and temporarily hide those top two layers here and highlight my background layer. And I'm going to use this layer to select the sky, and I've just hidden those top two layers because the selection will be easier to carry out against this blue sky because the blue is a single color, so it'll be easier to pick it up using the flood select tool. So you can find the flood select tool over in the toolbar over here, and then I can click on the sky here to begin a selection. You can see how immediately the tool picks up most of those areas of blue. I can then go to add at the top left here and then continue clicking to add other areas in. I could add these areas in under the legs here as well to get a decent selection of all of the blue areas within the image here. And then with that done, I might want to improve the selection using the refine option here. So I'll go to refine, and then I can adjust the border width. I'll bring that to around about 30% here. This just increases the refinement along the edge of the selection. You can see how that allows me to pick up some of these fine hairs and get a better selection of some of the grass around here. I'll set the output to selection and hit apply. And then I'm ready to reveal those top two layers again. I'll highlight that top layer there of the stars, and then I'll click the layer mask icon here to give me a layer mask attached to that top layer. And you can see how that restricts the stars to the area of sky that we selected. So I can hit Command or Control and D to deselect. And I'm going to go to the blend mode drop down here, making sure that top layer there is highlighted. And I'm going to change this from normal to lighten. And then I can adjust the opacity just to tone it down a little bit. I'll bring it around to about 75. And then finally we can use an adjustment layer to tone the image. So I'm going to perhaps go for a curves adjustment and just drag the top point down very slightly. And this just dulls down the highlights a little bit to give me a slightly more moody look. I could perhaps add a touch of contrast here as well, like this. And if I toggle that layer off and on, you can see how that affects my image. And that's my finished nighttime effect. So there we go. That's how to use a combination of adjustments and layer skills to transform day to night. And if we have a quick look back through our layers here, this was our starting image here. We used a gradient map to change the tones. Then we added in our sky, masked out the stag, and tweaked things with a final tonal adjustment. And that's it.